So I missed the boxing this weekend, and it appears that I chose the wrong weekend to go away, because the amount of discussing points that have come out of this weekend's boxing is crazy. I discussed in a separate video that went up on the channel yesterday evening the Frank Warren card at the Copper Box. That was a stellar card with lots of talking points, so that's gone up in the channel. And there's so many more things that I'm getting messages from people wanting to hear about. Terence Crawford, pound for pound top level fighter, fought Felix Diaz. Murata, Japanese middleweight, apparently hideously robbed in Japan, in his own country, against Hassan and Dan in Jikum. You know, so much to discuss that I haven't yet been able to cover on the channel because I haven't had the time. But this one has really caught people's imaginations, and this one was the most requested of all the topics. I am, of course, referring to the sucker punch of the century in the Dirrell Vs Uzcategui fight in the super middleweight division. I believe the fight went 8 rounds before the sucker punch occurred, and by all accounts, very even fight. I've seen clips of it. Seems like Uzcategui started stronger. Dirrell warmed up, came into the fight more in the middle rounds, and it was a very close fight at the time of the stoppage. Uzcategui, I believe he was a big underdog in this fight. I believe I saw him as big as 7-1 with certain bookmakers. So, you know, the fact that he was very much in the fight in the 8th round suggests this fight wasn't maybe going the way that was initially anticipated. And if you actually watch the 8th round, towards the end of that, Dirrell, he's backed into a corner. Uzcategui hits him hard, and Dirrell is hurt. You can tell Dirrell is really hurt. The bell then rings, and as the bell rings, Uzcategui comes forward and lands another punch on Dirrell, which sends him to the canvas. In hindsight, first and foremost, we must say a very poor decision from Uzcategui. He's even in a fight that after 8 rounds, he was a major underdog in. He's very much live in this fight. He's just clocked Dirrell, hit him hard, hurt him. Now, clearly he wanted to jump on Dirrell, and he wanted to press home the advantage that he'd got for himself by throwing that punch. And that's understandable. I can see why he's done that. He's obviously got the instinct to finish the fight at that point and to close there and then. Realistically, that was a terrible decision. He fouled. He did punch Dirrell after the bell. It was a completely unacceptable thing to do. You know, had he not thrown that punch, Dirrell may have been hurt going into the 9th round. You know, Dirrell maybe could have been there for the taking by legitimate means, but no, instead he dropped Dirrell very hard with a punch after the bell. And even though I don't think Dirrell's behaviour was genuine in the way he went down, I think the referee was potentially right to disqualify him. After the punch lands on Dirrell, Dirrell does go down, and he goes down hard. He goes down face first. The referee then asks him, "Are you okay?" And Dirrell appeared to my eye to say yes, he was. And whilst Dirrell was clearly hurt and clearly a bit shaken, he didn't, to me, look like a fighter who'd just been knocked out. A lot of people who were at ringside, I believe Dan Raphael was one of them, were saying that they heard Dirrell's corner telling Dirrell to stay down. Dirrell did appear to have come back to his senses. He did appear to be on the route to recovery. Then he did appear to sink to the canvas again. Now, I don't know. To me, that did look like he was potentially overhyping the injury. Maybe it was one of those punches where the effect kicked in on a slightly delayed reaction. I don't know. I didn't take the punch. But a lot of people saying Dirrell's corner told him to stay down. He certainly appeared to be on the road to recovery. You know, he was sitting up on his knees, and then after that flopped down onto his back and proceeded not to be able to get up. Regardless of whether Dirrell was laying it on quite thick, I don't think Uzcategui can really complain about being disqualified. You know, he did catch Dirrell extremely hard after the bell. Dirrell did go down, and that was an incident. And whatever the rights and wrongs of the situation, you know, that was an incident that could have changed the course of the fight. Who knows how well Dirrell would have recovered, etc. I think Uzcategui deserved to be DQ'd. That, of course, does not excuse the behaviour of Dirrell's uncle, who I believe is potentially still on the run for the police for what happened next. Now, I'm going to start off by saying that, having reflected on this, you know, it's been several days since this incident occurred, I can understand the fury of Dirrell's uncle. If you look at Andre Dirrell's career, he was a guy who was hyped as going to be one of the next big things. You know, he was a guy there was extreme excitement on. And the Dirrells will view his loss to Arthur Abraham, sorry, he won that fight by disqualification, I believe. They will view that fight with Arthur Abraham as a career-changing incident. In that fight, Dirrell well up on the scorecards, Abraham hits him, and Dirrell goes down, sort of takes a knee. As Dirrell's on the floor, Abraham hits him again from close range, which apparently knocked Dirrell unconscious. Dirrell was then out of the ring for an extended period of time. Dirrell apparently suffered very, very bad injuries as a result of that punch. So from the Dirrell corner's career, they've got a guy whose whole life is boxing, who was the next big thing in the sport. His career was on an upwards trajectory till the moment he fought Arthur Abraham, and what was essentially a foul punch in that Arthur Abraham fight completely derailed the rest of his career. Dirrell has then fought James DeGale and lost in a world title fight. So realistically, at the age of 33, having had a few knocks in his career, this fight against Uzcategui, you could kind of view as a last chance saloon for Andre Dirrell. It was a fight that he was in. It was a fight that he was even on the scorecards in. It was a fight that potentially he could have won. And the Dirrell corner will view that their man lost his opportunity because of an illegal and irresponsible after the bell shot from Uzcategui. I can completely understand why there would be fury from his corner. You know, they think that their man has been robbed of his career once by Arthur Abraham. They're now going to think the man has been robbed of their career twice by Uzcategui. Obviously, Dirrell's corner man was his family, which makes the situation even more emotional and more passionate, which I can understand. And I can see why the Dirrells would be absolutely outraged with how the fight happened. Having said all of that, what occurred next from Dirrell's corner was absolutely inexcusable. Dirrell's uncle apparently approaches Uzcategui in a corner and bare knuckle throws a 3 or 4 punch combination on him. He throws a lead left hook which catches Uzcategui clean on the chin, bare knuckle. He then throws a straight right hand and a follow-up left as well. Thankfully for all involved, the follow-up punches didn't catch Uzcategui clean, and Uzcategui appeared to take the punch from Dirrell's uncle pretty well. He wasn't knocked out, he wasn't unconscious, he didn't look horrifically injured at the time of the punch, etc. But what we saw after the bell was a really horrific incident, a real unpleasant sucker punch, and the slow-mo footage of this punch is really awkward, unpleasant, difficult viewing, and very, very bad for the sport. You know, that punch could have gone, that could have led to a horrific injury, that could have led to a real unpleasant situation in the ring. Look, Uzcategui was potentially in the wrong for punching after the bell. He was midway through throwing. You could perhaps suggest that he didn't intentionally punch after the bell. You could perhaps suggest that he didn't hear the bell, whatever. He was in the wrong for throwing after the bell. Dirrell's corner were possibly right to be incensed, and were probably even more incensed given the history of Dirrell's career, given the fact that this was potentially last chance saloon from him, and given the fact that they will believe their man was robbed of his career earlier on by that illegal blow from Arthur Abraham. History repeating itself was probably too much for them to take here. But the actions after the bell were utterly inexcusable. Particularly ugly scenes. And if his trainer and uncle is if his uncle and cornerman, so I say, is going to behave like that, then he deserves charges to be pressed against him. And there needs to be real question about his future involvement with Andre Dirrell from a professional perspective, and as to whether he should be allowed to be involved actively in boxing again. You know, there are parallel incidents. We all know them. We've all seen the famous sucker punch in the ring before. We've all seen, I think it was Floyd Mayweather's corner jumping in on Zab Judah, you know, and attacking Zab Judah mid-fight. This isn't completely uncharted territory. But unfortunately, the slow-mo footage that Dirrell's uncle, you know, of Dirrell's uncle throwing this punch is such unpleasant viewing that this one's probably going to live just as long in the memory, and this one's going to be viewed time and time and time again. It's probably going to be the incident that people will most remember when they look back at the careers of Uzcategui and Andre Dirrell in 20 years' time, which is an unfortunate mark on both of those guys' careers. I googled it at the time of making this video, and I don't believe that the police had caught up with Dirrell's uncle just yet, but I'm sure it's a story that will continue. And you know, what can I say? A real black mark for boxing. Let me know your thoughts on this, guys. Leave your comments in the section below. If you've enjoyed the video, hit the thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, do subscribe. As always, many thanks for tuning in.